My name is Linda Carter, and I never imagined that a quiet afternoon in my kitchen would change the way I viewed my family forever. For years, I've been proud of the life I built, simple, steady, and filled with love. My daughter, Emily, had always been my greatest joy. She was bright, strong, and kind-hearted, the sort of woman who could light up a room just by walking into it. When she met Daniel, a gentle, ambitious young man with calm eyes and a warm smile, I knew she'd found someone who truly understood her. Their wedding day was one of the happiest moments of my life. I remember standing beside my late husband's photograph, whispering, "She's in good hands, Mark." I truly believed it. Daniel was thoughtful, dependable, and seemed to adore Emily. I watched them start their life together with a sense of peace, until the day everything shifted. It started innocently enough. Emily was sent on a short business trip, something she often did as part of her marketing job. She asked me to stop by the house while she was gone, just to check on the garden and make sure Daniel was eating real meals. "He'll live off coffee if someone doesn't remind him," she joked. I laughed at the time, not realizing how that one small favor would lead to one of the most emotional days of my life. When I stopped by their house, Daniel was sitting at the kitchen table, papers spread out everywhere. He looked exhausted, his hair a little messy, his shirt sleeves rolled up. "Mrs. Carter, I didn't expect you this early," he said, quickly stacking the papers into a neat pile. "Oh, please, it's Linda," I reminded him with a smile. "And you look like you've been wrestling those papers for hours." He chuckled weakly. "It's been a week. Work deadlines." I started making some tea while he talked about work. But I could sense something deeper behind his words, something heavier. There was a tension in the air I couldn't quite name. Daniel wasn't just tired, he was burdened. I didn't want to pry, but I'd been a mother long enough to recognize when someone needed to talk. As I poured the tea, I gently asked, "Are you sure you're okay? You don't seem yourself." He hesitated, staring at his cup before finally whispering, "Linda, can I tell you something personal? I don't know who else to talk to." My first instinct was concern. Had something happened to Emily? But then he looked up, his eyes filled not with fear, but guilt. "It's not about Emily," he said quietly. "It's about me." He went on to explain that he'd been struggling mentally for months. Pressure at work, financial worries, the fear of not being enough for Emily, it had all built up. "I try to smile through it," he said, voice shaking. "But sometimes I feel like I'm failing her. Like I'm not the man she deserves." I reached across the table and placed my hand gently on his. "Daniel, being honest about your feelings doesn't make you weak," I told him. "It makes you human, and it shows you care." He exhaled shakily, as if he'd been holding that breath for weeks. "I didn't want Emily to see me like this. She looks at me like I'm strong. I didn't want to break that image." I nodded slowly. "She loves you for who you are, not who you pretend to be. You don't have to protect her from the truth." There was a pause, a long, heavy one filled with quiet understanding. It wasn't awkward or uncomfortable, it was simply human. A mother and a son-in-law sharing a moment of truth. Then Daniel's voice softened. "I didn't expect this conversation to get so deep," he admitted with a small smile. "I'm sorry, I needed someone to listen." I smiled back. "That's what family is for." We talked for hours that afternoon, about marriage, about life, about the fears people rarely say out loud. I told him about my own early days with Mark, how scared I'd been to start a family with so little money, how we learned to laugh instead of panic. Daniel listened closely, and for the first time, I saw him truly relax. As evening crept in, I got up to leave. "You're doing fine, Daniel," I said at the door. "Just remember to share your burdens with Emily. You two are a team." He nodded, eyes glistening slightly. "Thank you, Linda. You don't know how much I needed to hear that." That was supposed to be the end of it, but life rarely stops at a single conversation. The next day, Emily called me from her trip, her tone cheerful. "Mom, thank you for checking in. Daniel said you two had a long chat." "Yes, we did," I replied, smiling. "He's working hard. You married a good man, honey." "I know," she said. "He told me you reminded him a lot of his mom. He lost her so young. I think he feels safe talking to you." That small detail broke my heart in the best way. I hadn't realized how deeply Daniel's loss had affected him, or how much he'd been holding inside. Over the next few weeks, Daniel started visiting more often, helping with groceries, fixing things around my house, sometimes just stopping by to say hello. It wasn't strange or uncomfortable, it was natural, like the son I never had. But then, one evening, he arrived at my doorstep, eyes red from tears. "Can I talk to you?" he asked. I led him to the kitchen again, the same table where our first real talk happened. He took a deep breath. "Linda, I did something I regret. I didn't cheat or anything like that," he clarified quickly, shaking his head. "But I've been keeping things from Emily. Financial things. I was too proud to tell her I lost a big client. I've been pretending everything's fine, but it's not." I listened quietly as he confessed the details. He'd taken on debt to keep up appearances, afraid to disappoint her. He felt like a failure. When he finished, he looked utterly defeated. I reached over and said, "Daniel, the only thing worse than making a mistake is hiding it. Emily deserves honesty, not perfection." He nodded, tears spilling down. "You're right, I just needed to hear it out loud." That night, he promised he'd tell Emily the truth. And he did. She was upset at first, of course, but later she called me crying. "Mom, thank you," she said through the phone. "Daniel told me everything. We're going to figure it out together." Weeks passed, and slowly their marriage became stronger. They learned to be open, to communicate. Emily said it felt like a new beginning. As for me, I realized something powerful. Sometimes, family isn't just about blood, it's about being there for one another when it matters most. Months later, on a sunny afternoon, Daniel came by with Emily and their newborn son. He looked at me and said, "Linda, I owe you more than you know. That day in your kitchen, you saved me from drowning." I smiled through tears, holding my grandson in my arms. "No, Daniel," I said softly. "You saved yourself. I just reminded you could." That moment, the laughter, the baby's tiny fingers gripping mine, the warmth of forgiveness in the air, was one I'll never forget. Life doesn't always unfold perfectly. But sometimes, through honesty and courage, even the most unexpected confession can bring a family closer than ever.